All right, so let's get started. I want to thank everyone for taking the time to join us tonight for the Grace Hopper student panel discussion. Um, a number of these students attended this year's Grace Hopper conference, held virtually. So we're going to give them a chance to talk about their experience at the conference. This year was a little bit different. The conference was held virtually due to the pandemic, and on top of that, about a couple days before the conference started, there was a message that came out that the system the conference was using for the virtual conference crashed. So things had to change really over a course of a couple days. So it'd be really great to hear about the experience of a virtual conference and also about the last minute change. This is part of the CCI Women in Technology program. The CCI Women Technology program, we are devoted to engaging the creative and professional potential in every woman, no matter their prior experiences or aspirations with technology. We have a robust Women in Technology program with events, workshops, organizations, and the Grace Hopper Conference is one of our the participation in the Grace Hopper Conference is one of the main things we support. I also want to thank, even though they're not here, I do want to thank Vanguard. Vanguard has played a pivotal role in helping us to send students for the last couple of years. So with that, I'm going to turn things over to Jackie, who's going to be tonight's moderator. Jackie, go for it.
All right, thank you. So to begin, I just wanted to introduce all of us who are on the panelists today. So I'll be your moderator. I'm Jackie Guan, and I am a second year studying computer science. Also, if you are a panelist, can you do me a favor and put panelist in your name, just so it makes things a little bit easier and a little clearer. Katarina, can you go next?
Yeah, sure. My name's Katarina. I am a pre-junior. I'm studying software engineering. This was my second time actually attending Grace Hopper conference. I went last year, and that's about it.
Awesome, thank you. I'm so sorry if I botch your names, but Chow, can you go next?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Jackie. My name is Chow, and I'm a first-year PhD student in information science. It is my first year to attend the GHC.
Thank you. And then Sanskriti.
Hi, so I'm Sanskriti. I am a senior. I am majoring in computer science and mathematics.
Awesome.
And this was my first time. Sorry, I forgot to mention.
Smriti?
Hi, I'm Smriti. I'm a CS major. I'm currently a pre-junior, and this was my first time attending GFC.
Awesome.
Also, quick question. How do you put the word finalist next to your name?
So if you hover over your name, there's a more button. So if you go to participants, over your name, there's a more button, and then you can hit rename, and then you can rename yourself.
Thank you.
Sure. Aaliyah.
Hi, everyone. I'm Aaliyah. I'm currently a junior CS major here at Drexel, and this was also my first time attending GHC this year.
Awesome. And Nadian.
Hey guys, I'm Nadine. I'm currently a rising senior. I'm majoring in computer science, and this is my first time attending the conference.
Wow, awesome. Looks like we have a lot of people who are first attendees, first conference at first Grace Hopper conference that they're attending. This was also my first Grace Hopper conference as well. So this is really exciting. Just to put it out there, if you guys have any questions for the panelists, you can just put it in the chat and I'll make sure to try to get to it as well. So to start off, I would just like to ask all of you guys to tell us a little bit about your Grace Hopper conference. What sessions did you attend and what kind of experiences did you have with everything being virtual and virtual networking and all of that? So Katarina, would you like to go?
Sure, yeah, I can go first. So I don't know, for me, this experience was very different from last year. I guess I can say that since I'm the only person here who's gone actually in person, and it was very different. And at first, it was kind of unusual because I didn't really know where to go, and the website was a little bit confusing. Plus, my Tuesdays are jam-packed with a lot of stuff. So I was just like torn between classes and Grace Hopper. But once I kind of got into a hang of things, I focused a lot on the sessions that were just kind of like networking and workshops, and offered only once, since the workshops and networking and I feel like a few other categories were only offered during the conference, whereas kind of like the talks and a lot of other sessions, the keynotes, they were filmed and they are still offered for everyone who attended. So my strategy was to just kind of like go to the stuff that I wouldn't be able to attend to later. So that's kind of what pretty much influenced my entire experience. So I attended a lot of those networking sessions. I attended mentoring circles and speed mentoring. I also really enjoyed like the smaller group meetups that were just kind of like focused on certain subjects. And I went to a few workshops, but I feel like attending workshops was a little bit hard, since you like had to show up half an hour early to just like be able to get in. And that was like a little bit frustrating, especially in the morning when I like had all of my classes, and it was just kind of hard to, juggle a few Zooms, and it was interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. I also agree. Like, I thought the website was pretty confusing as well. I had to email the like the people who ran it a few times, just because I was like very confused about how things worked. But yeah, I'm glad you got the hang of it. Would anyone else like to go?
I can go next. My experience was kind of similar. So I had trouble joining the live sessions, like you mentioned. And I kind of brought it up at one of the live sessions to one of the moderators there. And she was like, oh, really? Like, that's been happening? And then a few other women who were attending were like, yeah, I haven't been able to get into most of the workshops that I registered for. And so she was like, oh, okay, that's great feedback. I'll let the Grace Hopper organizers know. So it seemed like they were surprised to hear that feedback. So in terms of sessions that I've attended, I looked at a lot of the recorded ones, the ones that were being live streamed at certain times, because I couldn't get into a lot of live workshops. But I was able to attend ones like DeepMind, AI, and their like internship opportunities and things that they have at the company, different panelists who were speaking that day, and I really loved that one. So it would have been amazing if I could have attended more. Plus I was on co-op, so I basically attended everything that I could, and I couldn't really take off a week as you can for like a live conference, like a lot of people do each year, to just attend a virtual conference. But I did get a lot out of the networking sessions especially, and I connected with a lot of women on LinkedIn after, a lot of VPs of different companies, which was really great, to students at other universities. But yeah.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. I like how you went to all the networking and was able to be like actually able to connect with them even through the virtual platform. So Smriti, would you like to go next?
I was actually curious. I was wondering how GHC would have been different like last year compared to this one, because this is my first time. So I enjoyed it actually. I found the website pretty easy to navigate through. So even I reached out to a couple of people days before the event started, because I was not really sure what was happening. And on the Slack channel, people were messaging even the night before that they didn't get their login credentials. So I was a little worried, but then when it all started, it was fairly easy to navigate through. And I was able to follow my timetable. And I realized that on the first day, I got my timing wrong. So I did not pay attention to the time zone. And I arrived at my first session 3 hours before. But actually, the people were expecting goof ups like that. So there was actually someone there to tell me that, hey, you're early, so come back later on. So I think they were prepared that way. But I was curious, like, what was it like before?
Yeah, I don't remember who like attended Grace Hopper in the
Yeah, I can come around to that later or now, whatever works.
Yeah, feel free to answer now.
Okay, so, in person it's a lot different because, it's a lot more empowering, first of all, because there's this like huge number of women, and like wherever you go, like that's all you see, and there's like just big crowds and masses, and everyone's just kind of like pushing around, and it's women as far and wide as you can see. It's really interesting. But other than that, I feel like a lot more structured because I feel like the big issue with this one was that they didn't really care who pre-registered and who didn't, which is
Yeah.
kind of like the biggest issue that I had with it, and kind of like the thing that I would definitely complain about if I had a chance to speak with someone who organizes it. In
your
person,
first-
you all like kind of pre-register, and then you get a chance to go in, and there are two lines for people who pre-registered and for those who didn't. So if you registered for it, you're guaranteed to get in unless you're late. That's when like they kind of start letting in the people who have not registered. So for me, that was just kind of like a big shock that the stuff that I sat there and pre-registered for, I wasn't really able to attend, and someone who had no intention of doing that was able to. So that was kind of like the bad thing. But all in all, I feel like in person, the career fair is just kind of like the heart of it all, and that's what was missing this year. I feel like most people generally don't really care about sessions or like workshops unless it's like something super interesting. Because I think
Yeah.
last year to the workshops like that I attended, there weren't a lot of people there, maybe like 30, 40 max. Yeah, so like everyone just kind of like centers around the career fair. There's like all of these booths with like different sponsors, so like you can go and talk, and you kind of like, for some you have to stand in line, for some you can just kind of like walk up and talk. But the free stuff also a great bonus. I feel like everyone goes crazy for all the free swag that you can get, and that was also kind of like missing this year. I know a lot of people were like complaining about it because I know like some companies were like sending out like specific stuff and like in boxes to people who pre-registered, and it wasn't kind of like widespread and wide known. So
Yeah. I know this only right now, so.
yeah.
Yeah, that was very insightful. Thank you. So Chow, can you also tell us a little about your Grace Hopper experience and how like it kind of went for you as well?
Yeah, sure. So I think my experience is also similar. One thing different is that because I'm a first year PhD student, so I mainly go to the sessions that I didn't like participate a lot with the networking session with employers. I think the good thing for me is that I met a lot of people in my same research area during the networking session, because the networking session also have like something like that is not related so much related to career, but like for people within the same area to communicate. So I believe it is a good way to meet with other people. And also because it is not in person, so what I did to follow up is to talk to them on Slack after we met in Zoom, because like everyone meets so many people a day. So if you don't follow up, maybe you will be forgotten. So it is like one of my tips. And another thing, I also like have a little bit complaint about like the sessions. The sessions, like some sessions that workshops, I'd say, they're so popular. Like even I registered before, if I go there late, like for example, if a session begin at 3 and if I get there exactly at 3, then most likely I will not be let in, because like it has a 500 people limit. So like for some sessions that I really want to go, like I generally arrive like 20 minutes earlier to ensure that I can get into the session. So this is something that I agree with Katrina, that that GHC, like they can do better on letting people who first registered to go. But like overall experience, I think it was great. I really like learned something that is useful and met with some people. So maybe next time when I'm looking for a job, I really hope that I can go in person and to attend the career fair. So this is pretty much my experience.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, the whole workshops and like all of them full, that was kind of crazy to experience, but it was an experience. So Sanskriti, can you also tell us a little about your experience as well at the Grace Hopper conference?
Sure. So just like Katrina said, I think the hardest part for me was juggling classwork and attending the conference. But somehow I made it through. It was pretty insightful. Some of the talks that I attended, I think the one that resonated with me the most was the talk on multilingual natural language processing algorithms. And I think that was very interesting because it sort of combined my career interests in AI with my personal interests. Like I love speaking languages, I speak 5. So I think that was really nice, although I do wish it was an in-person conference because I was really looking forward to the career fair. Being a senior and going into the real world, I think that would have been really beneficial. But I still feel like I definitely got a lot out of the conference and learned a lot.
Yeah. Wait, so what languages do you speak? Sorry, I'm just kind of curious.
Oh, sure. English, obviously, that's my first language. I speak Hebrew, I speak Hindi because I'm from India, and I speak two other Indian languages, Marathi and Sindhi. So
Oh,
quite a
that's
mix.
very cool. That's very cool. And also, Nadian, can you also tell us a little about your experience as well?
My experience was pretty good. I wasn't able to attend most of the sessions because I had co-op from 8 to 4, so it was really hard for me to like attend all of them. And also the time difference played a role as well. So I attended a couple and it had a lot of interesting topics. So overall, I'm pretty satisfied with the experience.
Awesome. All right, so next question. So a little bit, you guys kind of touched upon this a little bit, but what advice would you give to students who want to attend next year? Let's start with Aaliyah.
My advice would be just kind of plan out your day. Make sure that you prioritize what events you really want to get into. Maybe try to log in a bit earlier. I know that wasn't really useful for most of the live events that I tried to register earlier for because they only let you enter the room at a certain time. But in general, maybe reach out to one of the coordinators, see if there's any tips or advice that they can give you. Hopefully it is in person next year. But if it is online, maybe, yeah, just try to connect with people on LinkedIn or any other attendees. Somebody told me, one of my network connections told me to actually put GHC 2020 as like one of your taglines on LinkedIn so people know that you're attending. Maybe make a post saying who's going to GHC this year or something ahead of time so that you can kind of have those network connections there and, you know, spark up a conversation with other attendees.
Yeah, thank you. That was really good advice. Smriti, do you have any advice for us?
Yeah, so I would actually strongly recommend that you look up the companies that you want to attend and check out if they have any programs that are specific for students that attend conferences. Like, for example, I think off the top of my head, Microsoft has one. So if you apply for these programs, then you stand a higher chance of striking an interview on the actual conference. So if it's necker, then you might want to try yourself an interview because that's a during the conference. That was an advice for me. And I also think you should, at least for the database, for like a really long time. So I would advise students to do that earlier. And I also think that when you put in your resume, the format kind of changes. So watch out for that because you don't want to mess your resume up there. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And does anyone else want to go? I'll just randomly call on one more person. Okay, so Sanskriti, can you also go and give us some advice?
Sure. So I know because I never actually had an in-person experience, I can't really speak to the importance of pre-registering, but from what everyone who's been before has said, I would definitely recommend, you know, being early with things and just making sure you have your schedule in place. And yeah, I think it's also important, I guess, when you're there in person amidst like everything, you might forget to hydrate. So I would also recommend to stay hydrated, which is probably like not really technical, but I think that is also very important. But yeah, I would just say maybe also look up on LinkedIn the specific recruiters from companies that are going to be at the career fair and maybe getting in touch with someone and telling them that, oh, you do plan on stopping by their booth. I think that early start would actually make them remember you, which might work to your benefit when applying.
Yeah, thank you. I honestly, I love your advice about staying hydrated. Although it's very basic, it's very crucial as well. So thank you for that. All right, so the next question. So what did you learn at the conference that you would like to share? Is there anything that like stood out to you at the conference, or like a workshop that you attended that you just learned so much about, or like someone that you met, anything like that? So Katarina, can you go?
So for me, I don't know, again, I haven't really attended a lot of the kind of like workshops and informative sessions, so I can't really say that I've learned that much because I've yet to sit down and actually binge watch it all. But what I learned that was pretty interesting to me is that, we all have a MATLAB account. That was like, wow to me. I attended one of the MATLAB sessions and I don't know how it just like rerouted me to Drexel, and that was pretty interesting. But other than that, I guess I also like want to chip in a little bit into the previous question is that what Smriti said is the importance of adding your resume to the resume database. And even if you're not attending, it's really important that you do that because, the resume database is open for everyone. It doesn't matter like whether you're going to go there or not, you can still add your resume and be considered for those jobs. You might not get an interview, in person for a few months, since the kind of like the primary purpose of the resume database is for them to interview at the conference, which sadly this year didn't happen. But it's still a really, really good way to just kind of like get your name out there, because a lot of those job openings in general, end up being pretty generic, or they're open for just one like specific person. And then like when you go into the website and apply, there's a very, very high chance that no one's ever going to look at it. And if you do it through the database, it's a really good way to make sure that your resume actually does get into someone's hands and not just end up in a closed acquisition. So I think that's pretty much it again.
Okay, yeah, no, that was good. That was good. Thank you. Thank you. So Nadian, is there anything that you would like to share? Like any like thing that you learned that was so like interesting that you would like to share?
I haven't learned a lot. Like I learned a few things about AI and like machine learning when I attended those sessions, but there isn't something that like stood out to me in particular that I guess, I don't know. Like I did learn a bunch of things about AI, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I actually have something to share.
Yeah, go
So
for it.
maybe you guys already know this, but this was something really new and interesting to me. I found out that if you have a recruiter's name and just their name, you can actually look up their email ID and the contact details. And I found that really useful because not all the recruiters would share their email ID like in a session with 300 attendees. So if you just put in that extra step, maybe you can get in touch with the recruiter. And I did that, and a person actually got back to me. So that is some advice I'd like to give to students attending next year. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually really cool. Thank you for sharing that.
I can actually jump in for a second. The platform that they were going to use this year, it's called Social 21, and everyone, it was an open network. So following up on that, I don't know how much longer we have access to the site, but you should be able to go in there at any time and go and look up. You can find anybody in there by their name. You should be able to find their email address and additional information from there. So that is one of the benefits of having the event online, is that you do have a little bit longer to get in touch with people.
Yeah, thank you. All right. If you guys in the audience have any questions for any of the panelists, feel free to put them in the chat again. I'll make sure to get to them as well. If not, I guess I'll just keep going with the questions. So next question. So with the last minute changes to the conference format, how are you able to adjust your conference experience? So I'll start with Chao.
Sure, thank you. I think maybe I was not affected a lot. I registered for some sections ahead. Well, I think like the biggest change is for like the career fair was postponed, and since I didn't go to much of the career fair, so most of the sessions I went to that went smoothly. So I think maybe maybe my experience is not so much related to the question. Like it didn't affect me a lot.
Yeah, that's pretty valid, but thank you. Aaliyah, do you have anything else to add to that as well?
Yeah, I agree with the career fair. I think that was the most disappointing part for a lot of people. It wasn't really so pertinent to me specifically, just because I'm not graduating this year, but I can imagine for a lot of seniors and people that are actively looking for full-time employment, it might be a little disheartening. But I can understand that, being that this is the first year that they did the conference remotely, things are bound to happen. We all have technical difficulties, but it would have been nicer to kind of have some communication in advance, just so we could plan accordingly.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so next I would kind of ask you guys to like name like one highlight of the conference and then also one low point of the conference. So can we start with Sanskriti?
Sure. So I would say the highlight was this access to all sorts of different information, different realms of technology. I think that was very helpful. And even the fact that we still have access to those videos. So just in case someone couldn't make it to everything, I can always go back and watch a video on something that kind of interested me, but I didn't really have the chance to look at back then. And I would say the low point personally for me, with me graduating soon, would be the cancellation of the career fair. That was a huge letdown for me personally.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. But yes, thank you for sharing. Nadian, can you also give us one highlight and one low point?
One highlight was the fact that I just got to connect with a lot of people. Like after the workshops, I just had a bunch of connections, which was really good. One low point was, as Sanskriti said, I think the fact that the career fair was canceled at such a short notice was a bit of a bummer, but I think overall it went fine.
Thank you. Katerina, can you also give us a highlight and a low point?
So for me, also the highlight was definitely the whole like networking, because I feel like this way, it was a lot easier to just kind of like chat with people and talk a little bit more. I know last year, I just kind of focused around going to the booths and learning about the jobs and opportunities. And I never actually, got a chance to take down people's LinkedIns or emails. It was only just like the generic pamphlets and, listings and acquisitions. But this year, it was a lot different, especially with, all the rooms that were just kind of like set up for like a smaller, scale and less people. And I really like got a chance to meet so many people from different companies and just meet people who have like jobs that I'm interested in, or, people who have jobs that are like super unrelated to anything that I'm working on. And it was really cool to just like hear about that and, be able to connect with them in that way. Because last year, I think like I walked out with maybe like 5 or 6 new connections that I've kind of like kept in touch with. And I don't think that's going to be the case for this year. And the low point was probably, the whole like pre-registration thing. But for me, like I haven't really been affected by the career fair a lot since last year. I was like pretty quick to realize that unless you're a junior or a senior, it's really highly unlikely to, get a job at such a big conference where there's such a huge competition. So this year I just kind of like gave up on it, especially since I'm looking for co-ops abroad due to, visa restrictions. And, I was really, really, really looking forward to those sessions. And, the fact that I wasn't able to get into like 40% of them, let's say, was a pretty big letdown.
Yeah, I'm sure, but yeah. I'm glad you were able to make like good experiences and were able to network a lot though. Chow, can you tell us one highlight and one low point?
Sure, of course. So I think highlights is that even like the career fair was due to technical issues, it was not launched. But I think like the overall conference, it went smoothly. This is part of like the highlight, I think. And also another thing I find is that because the career fair was postponed, and another good thing I think is that many employers, they hosted their career fair on their own. So just like they posted some Zoom links, I received quite a few. Like the employers is kind of like not very much related to GHC, but they send out their own like info sessions. I think that is like one high point for the graduates and also for students who are seeking for interns. And one low point I think is that like so many workshops that like they are so popular that I cannot like get into them all. And also there are so many like workshops like they occur at the same time. And also GHC that does not provide some like recordings or like other materials on Slack, so I cannot access them after the meeting. So I think that is pretty much the highlight and low point that I suppose.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. And Smriti, highlight and a low point?
I think a highlight for me would be that because I was attending the conference from home, I could grab lunch and attend a workshop at the same time, and I wouldn't get too tired. And I believe a low point would be that because there are so many people attending the conference with you, and with 300 people in the same session as you, it can be slightly intimidating to ask a question. I remember in one of the sessions, I did not want to speak up because there were so many other people with me. And I was like, "Oh, okay, maybe I'll wait till the end." But then all 300 people stayed till the end. So then I had to step out of my comfort zone and ask. So that was something new. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. It can be really overwhelming. All the Zoom calls were so full. It was kind of crazy, but so Tommy asked a question in the chat. He said that he asked if GHC has like, does GHC feel like a high impact way of reducing the gender equity we see in the tech space? What other ways have panelists thought about reducing things like pay disparity and paternal leave issues in the tech industry? Does anyone want to answer?
I feel like that's a really, really hard question to ask. I feel like with a lot of these like really big companies that go to GHC, stuff like these conferences, it's not very widespread. I know like when I co-opted Oracle and I spoke to my manager about going to Grace Hopper, and she's a lady in her 40s or 50s, I'm not very sure, but it was her first time hearing about such a conference, and she kind of poked around and she found out that Oracle actually does open up an application for everyone to apply, but it's just not very widespread. And I feel like if women don't really know about opportunities like this, it's kind of hard to just kind of assume that men do. And I do feel like it does have to be publicized a lot more, and all of these conferences that are just kind of like focused on diversity and inclusion, such as the SACE conference or NESB or SWE or GHC, they all kind of work for the same purpose. But again, the biggest issue is that I don't think it's really widespread outside of that kind of like category of people that are invited to it.
Yeah, thank you. That was pretty interesting to think about. Anyone else want to go? Okay. Oh.
It looks like there's another question that came in from Tommy. I'm also curious if panelists have any input on how allies might be able to stand and help with any of these issues in the tech space. Anyone?
I feel like people talk a lot about microaggressions these days, and I feel like that's kind of something that's covered a lot by these conferences, and that's a really big way that, you know, an ally can help out, is just kind of like call out such behavior and, you know, talk about it.
So here, I'll chip in with, you know, stuff that has happened to me in you know, my career in tech, and ways that allies have helped me, that I think have been really positive. It can be, I think, as challenging as it is for a woman who's in a meeting that's currently male and is being, a pretty common thing is to just not be heard, right? You say something and nobody responds, and then 2 minutes later, someone else in the room says the same thing and it gets a positive response. This is a thing that happens. And it's one thing, I think, for the woman to stand up and say, and I've done this, to be like, no, like, hold on, everybody, let's stop and rewind, you know, that's what happened. But I think that wears on you. You get to the point where, like, can I really do that every single time? And that's something that I personally would like to see, all people, everybody, be aware of who is not being heard, because it isn't, I'm human nature being what it is. If it was a room of 100% males, there's still going to be some male in that room who's not being heard. Like, this is just, it happens, but we can, and our allies certainly can, highlight that and basically tell the room to stop and rewind. We actually heard from this person and we need to listen.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for, like, you know, chipping in and speaking up about that. I think that is, like, a pretty important topic as well. So thank you for bringing that up. Does anyone else have any questions? It can even be, like, from the panelist to another panelist, or anything of the sort. All right. So
I have a question. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
I have a question. So I'm happy to reach out to Grace Hopper. In fact, I've been taking notes about some of the difficulties you guys had. I didn't know. I obviously knew about some of them. I didn't know about the sessions being filled and things like that. What would you like? I mean, what would you ask for them to do? I mean, if I can set up some sessions, or if we can, are there any asks you have for Grace Hopper that I can take back to them? I can't get virtual swag. I missed out on the swag too. Marie usually does a really good job of getting me some swag. But are there other things that, are there types of sessions or are there types of workshops that you'd want? I mean, let me know. I'd be happy to reach out to them and find out.
Can you ask them to release workshop videos? Because they have been recording them, but they've been adamant about not sharing them for some reason.
Sure.
And I've heard, like, multiple people complain about that. And, you know, since it's already being recorded, why not? I mean,
Sure.
it really does make no sense.
Okay. Anything else? I mean, were there any, I guess in a general sense, I can't get one of the sponsors to come here and do a workshop, but were there any workshops that you really were disappointed you didn't get a chance to attend, that I could see if they can actually put something on for us? Were there any types of workshops that you were disappointed you couldn't get into? All right. I mean, if anything comes up, just shoot me an email. Like I said, I am in touch with them about some other things, and I'll be happy to ask them about the videos and just Kat, I see you're looking it up. Yeah, just shoot me an email or just yell it out, and I'll be happy to ask them. They have done a fairly decent job of communicating, at least with me on the back end. I obviously with you guys, it wasn't as good. I also agree that one of the issues is the time difference. They're based out of California, so everything I've had the same issues as you've had with them. Every time I've had a call with them, Every time there's been some sort of session, it's been a weird time because we're in California. So that's something that maybe we can help resolve. Yeah, so just shoot me an email if anything comes up.
Dave, I have another question. So
Sure.
in terms of, so I'm Marie Fazio, I'm assistant dean in the college. And it's nice to meet all of you. I've had the opportunity to go to Grace Hopper in person, and it's amazing if you get a chance to go. It's really, like Katerina was saying, it's an energy that's unlike any other I've experienced, and the swag is to die for. But I understand all the issues in terms of like the networking events and the career workshops and things. Are there things that you could think about, and if it's not now, please send me an email at a later time, that within the college, either through the Women in Tech initiative or in any other means that the college can do to help support you in your education, and the things that you want to do professionally, right? Are there other panels or sessions, you know, from soup to nuts that you could think about that we might be missing the mark on, or you feel like, you know what, I really like to give this feedback to the leadership in the college? I'll put my email in the chat, and then if you think of anything, I would really love to hear from you, because your feedback is invaluable. And if we can meet a need that we're not currently meeting, then we definitely want to do that. So Grace Hopper is one thing that we, you know, we've really tried to expand and give access to as many students as possible. But I really feel like that's the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, thank you so much. That means a lot.
Of course, we're here to help.
Katerina, I think I actually attended the Wells Fargo Chatbot workshop.
Really, I was there like 20 minutes early and it was completely filled. There was like no way to
Really?
get into it. Yeah.
Not gonna lie, when at the end of the week, I started clicking on the Zoom links like 30 minutes early.
Yeah.
trying to, like get into them. But
Yeah, I
yeah.
started like picking out sessions that had like different platforms. So I would go to one Teams session, one Zoom, one, you know,
Mhm.
Blue Jeans or whatever. And you know, that was just kind of like what I had to resort to towards the end, because like there was just no way to get to some of them otherwise.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
Well, I'm happy to reach out to them and see what I can get released. I can also find out if there's things that I don't want to say make it right, because that's not fair, because they had 25,000 participants. They can't make it right for just us. But maybe there are some other things that they have available that we can, like Marie said, that we can do for the college. Maybe there's some workshops they can put on for us. I'll let everybody know.
I'm surprised that they're not, I mean, I thought the whole point was, even when I've gone in person, I've always downloaded the app, and then they do release content, even if it's just the PowerPoint slides. So this is really surprising to me. I don't understand that at all.
Yeah, and that's what I mean, to piggyback on that. That's what was sold to me.
Oh,
when they
that's
came back and switched online, we had to actually renew our contract. And one of the selling points was that everything was going to be repeated.
Yeah, that for me, because I'll be honest with all of you, I missed the entire conference because of, like Katerina was saying, and others of you, trying to juggle that against your day-to-day schedule and not having the time off. So Dave and I just kind of came to consensus. I'm like, well, then I'll just watch it all as a retrospect. And now it sounds like I cannot. So that's disappointing.
Yeah, so I think they basically like they split out everything into the workshops and the sessions. So like there were only like 3 or 4 workshops per day. It wasn't a lot, but it was, you know, those like interesting things that you could really do like hands-on. Because I feel like, you know, talking about imposter syndrome, you know, the stuff like that, you can hear that, you know, pretty much all the time. But, you know, getting to kind of interact with a technology that's like specific to one company, that's a little bit more rare. And it's just such a shame that they don't want to release that stuff, you know, and they do just kind of like release the everything else that's, you know.
So Katerina, from your perspective, were you interested in the more technical content?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, some of the proprietary, and that could be why, but still.
I know some companies, I'm not sure which one, but one of the workshops I attended, they said that they were gonna like release it on their YouTube or something along those
Okay.
lines.
Sure.
So I don't know, like Grace Hopper might be leaving it up to them, like whether the company wants to share or not.
Sure.
But then like when someone asked the same question during a different workshop, they were like, yeah, like Grace Hopper is not letting us release it, but they are recording it for themselves. So
Okay, that's
who
odd.
knows, who knows what the truth is there.
Yeah, but we'll have to, right, so, I think it's a very good organization, but at the same time, this is their cornerstone event, and Dave Rakin spends copious amounts of time and energy trying to get us organized and to do the things correctly, and we want to make sure that that's worthwhile for
Yeah.
everybody. But if you all think of things that could help support you, or you're just really interested in that the college could potentially take on, we would love to hear about that.
And one other thing I want to ask, and I think I know the answer to this, should we continue to support Grace Hopper, or is this something that you want to see the college continue to support and send students to? I'm fairly certain I know what the answer is, but I still want to ask.
I would say definitely, like, although I unfortunately, like, I've been in CCI 4 years, not once before have I been sent to Grace Hopper. I don't know why I apply every year, but anyway, I just wish, yeah, I feel like if things had been okay and I'd actually gotten to go in person, I think it would have been really great. So definitely, it's an amazing opportunity that I really wish I could have had.
Yeah, I definitely think we should keep supporting it, and maybe like, also especially now during these like COVID times with like a lot of other conferences being online. I know that I like because of being like involved with user experience and like through Onyx Valley / Drexel CCI, I've seen a lot of kind of like creative and design conferences that are now like free, and I know like Adobe had a few and some other companies. Maybe that would be kind of like a good thing for the college to just kind of like keep track of and maybe like share to students.
I mean, if you have,
Yeah, we can do that.
if you see conferences come up, and this goes for all of you, if you see conferences come up, feel free to shoot them to Marie and myself.
Yeah.
We can publicize it, and we can also see if it's potentially something we can send students to.
And if you know of any listservs or anything that we should subscribe to so that we get the updates directly, because we rely on you for all the technical information. We'd be happy to
Yeah.
do that.
I know Adobe Max is like next
Okay.
week.
Okay. Dave,
It's
can you
free.
look at that?
Yes.
It's free. Excellent.
Yep. I can send it in the
Yeah,
chat.
thanks, Katarina.
You shoot me an email with the information, and I'll include it. I'll see if I can get it included in our newsletter.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
Jackie, do you have anything else, or you want me to wrap it up?
I don't really have anything else to add. Yeah.
Thank you, Jackie, for moderating.
Thank you all. This has been great. Like I said, it is being recorded. We are gonna stream this. I guess we're not stream it. We're gonna put it on YouTube, so that this can serve as a resource for any students who didn't get a chance to go this year, might want to go in the future. And thank you for being open with us to fill us in on things that at the college that we can do better. Something that we are trying to do. We're trying to get a little bit more outreach to find out what we can do better, what services we can provide you guys. And feel free to reach out to Marie and I. We're available through email. We can talk offline to find out what we can do better to support you guys. Grace Hopper is a lot of work. It's something I really, really enjoy doing, shockingly. This year was a little bit better because there was not airfare involved. No, it's something I enjoy doing, and I'm glad that I can help you guys go. Hopefully next year it's different circumstances, and we can certainly help you again. If not, we'll do the same. And yeah, I just want to thank you all for attending tonight.
Yeah, thank you for
thank you so much for organizing.